Hi, Diane.
Hi there, how are you? I was just working out the little kinks here. So let me just adjust our video. How are you doing?
Okay, I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm looking forward to our chat.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. I just wanted to do a brief little introduction here. Welcome to
Okay,
Welcome to the HeartMind Coach Online, home of Business Wellness Cafe and Self-Care Wednesdays. And of course, I'm Dianne Ellis, everyone. And of course, well-being and balance is important for everyone in any given community to maintain vibrancy and hope going forward. So today, our guest is Lori Lococo. And Lori Lococo is the current Niagara Falls City Councillor seeking re-election in the upcoming October 24th municipal election. Welcome, Lori.
thank you, Diane. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. So, of course, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what came to mind is what made you decide to run a second time for city councillor?
Okay, well, thank you so much for that question. I did run in 2014, and in Niagara Falls, we have an at-large system. That means that we take the top 8 vote getters instead of having a ward system, with a lot of other cities do. We take the top 8, and I think there were 34 people that ran in 2014, and I came in 9th. I was 600 and some votes short of getting into that 8th position, and being so close, I wanted to continue on meeting with people, finding out what they were looking for. I met with different organizations, and I attended almost all of the council meetings from 2014 to 2018, so I could get an idea about what was going on at council, what were the dynamics, and I wanted to run again. And then I did run again in 2018, and I was successful and got into the top 8.
That's wonderful. That's good to hear a little bit about the background, because a lot of times we see city councilors doing their job, doing their work, but we don't get a sense of what makes you or anyone like you in your position choose to go ahead and become a city councilor. And it's such a huge role, and it's about connectivity a lot of the times. So describe your top 3 platforms and how you see your focus benefiting the community, because it is about keeping everything together to some extent, isn't it?
Yes. Through talking with the community and things that are really important to them and things that I feel are important, I have come up with 3, and they're very connected and interchangeable. So the first one is sustainable development. The second one is affordable housing. And then the third one is protecting our environment. And as I said, I do feel that they're all connected. I'll touch briefly on all of them.
Wonderful.
Sustainable development to me is we have to have a balance between how much we build and how much we save the environment, and building homes, building businesses. The region and the province give us certain development targets that we have to reach. And that means a number of people are moving into our community. Where are they going to live? We need to build housing for them. We have to look at those targets. And when I say sustainable, I mean in the sense of, can our infrastructure hold that extra number of people coming into our community? A lot of residents right now say they have some issues with infrastructure. Their backyard floods, or when they flush the toilet, they have issues. We have to look at what is happening now, and if we do develop, will that development be able to handle that extra infrastructure? The challenge is also the environment, because if we tear down a whole bunch of trees, we have a climate crisis on our hands, and we have to really look at those types of things. The other thing with sustainable development is the types of housing that we're building. Niagara has a very high percentage of single family homes. Not everybody needs a 3-4 bedroom home with a big backyard. We can live in apartments, condos, smaller units. We have to look at the types that we're building and have more intensification in apartment buildings and condos. There's things that we can talk about, like tiny homes, laneway homes, seat containers, those types of things. And we are in the process of looking at information to allow those. We might decide not to allow certain things. We might decide to allow other. So that's the first part about sustainable development. Did you have any comments on that, or would you like me to move forward?
Yeah, move forward with that. Yeah, by all means.
Okay. The next one, excuse me. The next one is affordable housing. Just a second.
Take your time.
Excuse me.
That's
The next one is affordable housing. We are in a crisis all across the country about affordable housing, and there are a lot of facets that come into it. It's really important that all levels of government work towards this. Usually we say that housing is a regional responsibility because we're a two-tier government, and then a provincial and federal. But it's come to the point that the municipality really needs to get in there and start working towards getting affordable housing. Some of the things that we can do is have inclusionary zoning, which means that if a developer is building an apartment building, that a certain number of units need to go towards affordable housing. That inclusionary zoning, though, is only a certain distance away from a transit hub, which is our Bridge Street trains and GO station. So that limits where we can put some of the inclusionary zoning. But there's other things that we can do to work with developers to encourage them to build more affordable housing.
And what are some of those things that you're thinking about doing?
One of the things that people think about is taxes. We would give a break on taxes, and we're not allowed to do that through the Municipal Act, but you could look at different things about the expediency, about how to cut all of the red tape, how to apply for the permits, how to do that development. We could look at different development charges. There's a thing called bonusing. We're not allowed to bonus. We're not allowed to give certain extras to developers. So it's really a partnership between the municipality and the developer about what we can do to encourage them. They're the ones that are building them for us, and they're in it to make money. Obviously, that they can't do it at a loss either. So the governments are looking at all of these different types of things. There was the Ontario provincial government put out an Ontario Affordability Task Force report in February. There's quite a few recommendations about what they think could help to get us out of this crisis. Some of them I completely agree with. Some can cut the red tape, streamline the processes about going on electronically and putting their permits in, that sort of thing. And then there's some other recommendations that I have a little fear of that would maybe remove some of the rights and notifications of our residents, and maybe even reduce some of the revenue at the municipal level.
That's an interesting point that you make about red tapes and getting the process moving forward so that more homes can be built to maintain or meet the demand that's out there, because that's the real crisis there. There's not enough homes being built or land available to build in order to sustain the need that's happening at this time. And again, as like you mentioned before, it's happening on all levels, in all areas across Canada. So if you can tell me a little bit more about how hopeful are you that this demand will be met, let's say by the end of this year or next year or the next 2 years?
I am hopeful in certain aspects of the plan, and certain aspects I'm very concerned. As I said about notification, some of them, and we'll talk a little bit about this later on, but it's called as of right. Before you used to have a single family home, and that's all you could build on a single family home zone property. Now the Ontario government would like to make it that you could build 4 units without applying for any additional rights. There's no notification to your neighbors or businesses. To me, I'm all transparency and notification. I understand that we're in an affordable housing crisis and we need to do something because what we're doing is not working. I get that, but I am concerned about the notification to our residents and having that process. Some of the things bring a lot of hope, and others I'm a little bit concerned. With our provincial election coming on June 2nd, we will see some of the things have been implemented already in their recommendations. For example, Niagara Falls received $1 million from the provincial government to hire more staff to cut down the backlog of all of the permits. There will also be a guideline with a certain number of days that if the city does not approve the development plans at a certain point, that we would give a refund back to the development. And it goes in increments. If it's a certain number, you get certain percentage back. If we still don't approve it by a certain, you get a certain percentage back. So there are those incentives from the government to say, hey, municipality, you really have to work on this. Well, we can't work on that if we don't have extra staff. And some of it is the computer technology as well, cutting down the red tape that they could apply online, give all of the plans online instead of coming down to City Hall with these great big drawings and laying them all out and number of copies. Those are things that are really good, but some of them I'm quite concerned about. I think, you know, if we all work together, there might be, you're never going to be happy with one plan, and hopefully we can work out the kinks and have that.
Yeah, one kink at a time, right?
Yes.
So yeah, we touched on as of right permissions, and of course, why did you choose to delegate decision-making powers as one of your priorities?
I didn't really choose to delegate. That's from the Ontario Affordable Housing. Again, I'm all about transparency and notification. I think that the municipality should keep that, the residents should keep that. That as of right came from the province. It's not something that I'm advocating for. I'm advocating against it. I think we need that notification and transparency in meetings. There's another thing called a minister's zoning order, and the minister can come in certain situations and completely bypass all of that notification. Public meetings can change some of the rules that are normally, for example, we have a section in Niagara Falls was zoned for 20-foot apartment buildings. The minister zoning order increased it to 40. No notification other than the meeting that it was on at City Council. And most people don't watch City Council or don't read the agenda. No. But if they live near there, normally there would have been a notification to say, hey, this is what's going on. This is what we want to do. Come out, give us your feedback. Those things I'm quite bothered with, and I really think that we need to be transparent and let people know.
I do believe so, and giving it a heads up is really crucial. And so I look at that and I think sometimes that's where the gap is, informing people ahead of time with enough leeway for families and individuals who are working to set up the time to get to where they need to go in order to put in their feedback on things. And that way creates that flow, that balance between levels of government with the community with which they serve. And I can hear it in what you're saying, Lori, that you're all about trying to connect folks to that, creating that sense of a sequence that flows a little bit more efficiently. And I think you're right to underline that as a core value system that you want to put in place. So my next question is this: how will your re-election as City Councillor continue to highlight affordable housing going forward? And we're touching a lot on affordable housing, but it's such a crucial thing for our region. So what do you have to say about that?
Yes, I try to do as much research as I can through the government, through different organizations, to learn about some of the initiatives that are coming forward, what works in one community, what works in another community, what doesn't work. I feel that if we have different people at the table at our city council, we will bring up different ideas. If we were all the same, it would be the same ideas. We would be talking about the same thing. We have the same likes and dislikes. I think I bring a different voice to city council. You know how they say there's two sides to a story? I don't believe there's two sides to a story. There's 5, 6 different perspectives, and I've really learned that as a counselor. You know, there's the person that lives right next to the development, a proposed development. There's the person that lives across the street from the development. They have a different perspective. You have the person that lives down the street. You have a person who the shadow will be casting on their garden. Like, there's so many different perspectives, and I feel that I can bring a multitude of different ideas around affordable housing that we haven't really looked at before. I know we worked on an affordability housing plan for the city, And I'm bringing up different ideas about tiny homes. I had an opportunity to go down to Austin, Texas, and look at that tiny homes community. It's not a homelessness camp. It's a community. People live there, and these people that were there were chronically homeless for over 10 years, and this is their home. And I learned all of the things that work well, the initiatives, the programs, and I bring that knowledge and those voices. I bring the voice that not everybody needs a 3,000 square foot home. I can live in something 500-600. I bring those different voices, and I will always continue to do that. I will educate myself, bring the ideas, even if they don't get accepted. At least we've talked about them. It's out there, and who knows, maybe something will come around that maybe the ideas will be accepted later.
That's wonderful. Forward. And I think also looking at the fact that, yeah, the needs of constituents, community individuals have changed over time. People are downsizing, and it would make sense to try and look at how to balance that out and meet the needs of folks who don't require a huge house to live in. And of course, you know, we're looking at aging population as well. What are the needs there as it relates to affordable housing and transition homes, etc. So there's so much to look at regarding that topic, and I'm sure we'll have to meet up again to talk about that. But moving forward to the next question that I have, how do you see your re-elected role as City Councillor playing a part in economic diversification in the Niagara region?
Thanks, Diane. I think the pandemic really brought to light for us what our community was and what the community wasn't. We are a tourism city, and we have millions of visitors that come to Niagara Falls. We have to foster and make the tourism city as best as we can. We have beautiful Niagara Falls. It's important. We know that. We have to listen to the tourism operators, the tourism industry. That being said, 40,000 people were out of work during the pandemic. And what that says to me and a lot of people is that we need to diversify and not just have a tourism city, because we were shut down. We were one of the first people to be shut down and one of the last to come up. That's restaurants, the entertainment industry. It was challenging. So the idea is to bring different types of business, and we have been working on that a little bit, but I would like to see more of a focus on energy. Being that Niagara Falls was the first place where electricity was, we still have that availability here. If we work on affordable electricity, environmental electricity, and the storage is really important about electricity. I did some research on this, and when you make the electricity, you have to use the electricity. And we can only store it in certain capacities. And there's lots of different new ideas about how to create these batteries that will store them. You have sections within communities that will go off one little section and solar, or and it stores the electricity. So those are some ideas there. But I really would like to work more with the business development department at City Hall. I think by the time city councilors hear about something, the development department has already worked on it for a couple of years. So maybe that's something that we can work better as a council, that city council is more part of the bigger picture about why we're going after certain industries. We also increased our employment lands, which means same thing as having a certain number of houses. We also need to have a certain number of businesses in order to support the people coming here. So we've expanded our employment lands. And you know, there's sort of the balance there too, because is that agricultural land? Did you cut down trees? You know, there's a balance there. But those employment lands can foster the jobs that our newcomers to Niagara would be. And we have to figure out, well, what are those jobs? Can't all be tourism, because as we've seen, that was very detrimental. We still have tourism, we have to foster that, but let's try to do other things. Technology is another one. We're having a lot of, you know, technology coming in, things that just pop up that have you know, we have no way of knowing of what it is. They come to our community and they end up having met multiple people working there. It's a great incentive for our community. So we have to look at different things. We used to have a lot of industry in Niagara Falls. Some of it we still have, not the big industry like we did, but we do have to look at all these different types of things.
I agree. I agree. And that's one of the ways that we keep ourselves relevant, don't we?
Yes.
Moving with what's happening, and that's all a part of resiliency. And I see Niagara region as being very resilient. And yes, unfortunate with COVID's impact, it did make quite a sweep across all the industries and impacted all of us greatly. And a lot of us now are working from home, and a lot of us are trying to use what it remains for us and really build and grow from there. And I often say it's like the phoenix, we're all rising together. And that's one of the favorite things I love to keep in my mind whenever I think about how I work with someone. And there you go, that's my phone. And I keep that in mind and I think about it. And that's one of the things that I try to inform folks about when I do my Self-Care Wednesdays. It's about how do you rise up? How do you keep moving forward? Your mental health, your mental state of mind. And it's about resiliency. And I teach about that often and a lot. And with COVID not quite in our rear view mirror, and this is my final question, what can we continue to look forward to when it comes to resiliency in our community as time goes on?
I think it was important that we understand what everybody went through, because everybody went through different things. And there's a lot of surveys out there, polls going out. We need to understand what each sector went through and how it impacted. If you're not in those sectors, you have no idea about how it impacted. So I think gathering that data and understanding what everybody went through, that's part of it. Figuring out about diversification, how can we diversify? I think we're also looking at the Great Resignation, they call it. There's a lot of people just decided maybe not to go back to the job that they were at for whatever reason. And some people are going back to school. Some people have gone to a complete different industry. So I think we're just in the process of trying to figure all of that out. But the big thing is listen to people, figure out what they've gone through, you know, get the right people in the room that can figure out where we need to go. We need, hopefully this year in tourism will be a wonderful year. We have the challenge of the economic and the gas prices, and still with international visitors coming over. But, you know, we need to do the best that we can with what we have right now, and just move forward.
I think you're so right about that. And I just put out a quote, I think it was last week, start where you are. Because every day we wake up, we start where we are, and that's the important thing, the impetus to keep us going forward. We can learn from what happened with COVID over the past 2 years. We can look at the sadness and the grief that was caused as such, but it's about how we react to it and how we choose to react to it going forward now. And I do believe that what you said in our talk today resonates very strongly, and I do believe it's important to touch on these topics as time goes on. And of course, in October 24th, that's the day, the important day of vote. So it's very important for us to review what it is that we're all about. And I think that's a crucial thing. And I'm so happy to have had you here to talk today. And thank you for sharing with us why you're doing what you're doing it. And of course, I can sense that you're really passionate about it, which of course is always a draw for me. I think it's really important to have passion in what we do every day that we wake up and we do what we do from our hearts. So thanks again for coming out and chatting with us.
Thank you so much, Diane. This has been a great chat, and I encourage everyone to, with municipal politics, people think, oh, I'm not interested in politics, but municipal politics is the thing that's closest to you. It's the roads that you drive on, it's the snow clearing, it's the recreational departments, it's seniors programming, it's your taxes. It's really close to you. So if you're not interested in politics, think about the things that are happening right in your community, and I hope you do your due diligence, get to know the candidates, and think about what's important to you.
Yes, most definitely. And final thing I'd love to say, it impacts everything that we do. Politics impacts everything that we do from a day to day. From the food we see in our grocery store, the way in which our businesses run, the way in which we transport ourselves from place to place, everything, as Lori says. So yes, it's very important for us to get to know the candidates and understand what it is that we're looking forward to and why we're doing what we're doing as a community. All right, with that said, thank you very much, Lori. And yeah, maybe you can come back sometime. That would be great.
I'd love to.
Talk about tiny homes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Diane. Have an awesome day.
Have an awesome day, and namaste to you. Take care. All right.
Take care.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.